The Russo-Japanese War, 1904 to 1905, was a pivotal conflict that marked the first time in modern history that an Asian nation defeated a European power. Despite being a larger and more industrialized nation, Russia suffered a humiliating defeat at the hands of Japan. Several factors contributed to Russia's loss in this war, including strategic miscalculations, logistical challenges, political instability, and Japan's superior military tactics. 1. Geographical and logistical disadvantages. One of the most significant reasons for Russia's defeat was the logistical challenge of fighting a war on the other side of the world. The conflict was fought mainly in Manchuria and the Korean Peninsula, far from Russia's core territories. Distance and communication. The vast distance between Russia and the theater of war in East Asia made it difficult for the Russian military to transport troops, supplies, and reinforcements quickly. The Trans-Siberian Railway, while a remarkable engineering feat, was insufficiently developed to sustain a large-scale war effort over such a vast expanse. Supply lines. Maintaining long and vulnerable supply lines across thousands of miles strained Russia's resources. The difficulty in resupplying and reinforcing their forces contributed to the Russian military's inability to sustain a prolonged fight. 2. Poor military strategy and leadership. Russia's military strategy was flawed from the start. The Russian leadership, under Tsar Nicholas II and military commanders, underestimated Japan's strength and overestimated their own. Underestimating Japan, Russia did not anticipate the effectiveness of Japan's military. Japan had modernized its military during the Meiji Restoration and was well prepared for war. Russian leaders, by contrast, were slow to adapt to Japan's modern warfare tactics, including the use of speed and precision in battles. Inexperienced leadership. Russian commanders, including General Alexander von Kuropatkin, were often indecisive and ineffective in managing the war. Kuropatkin, in particular, was criticized for his slow-moving strategy, which allowed Japan to capitalize on the initiative. The lack of strong, capable leadership on the Russian side further hindered their efforts. 3. Japan's superior military tactics and preparedness. Japan's military, though smaller, was better prepared and more efficient than Russia's. Japan's strategy was marked by agility, coordination, and quick strikes, which caught Russia off guard. Naval superiority. Japan's navy played a crucial role in the war, particularly in the decisive Battle of Tsushima, 1905, where the Japanese fleet destroyed the Russian Baltic Fleet, which had sailed halfway around the world to engage Japan. This crippling defeat eliminated Russia's naval presence in the region and left them vulnerable to Japanese attacks. Well-trained army. The Japanese army was highly disciplined, well-trained, and familiar with the harsh conditions of the region, which gave them a strategic advantage. Japan's forces were able to move quickly, outflank Russian positions, and execute effective sieges, most notably during the Siege of Port Arthur. 4. Political instability and internal problems. Russia's political instability during the war also contributed to its defeat. The Russian Empire was already experiencing significant internal problems, including widespread dissatisfaction with Tsar Nicholas II's rule. The 1905 revolution. The war exacerbated domestic unrest in Russia. Economic hardship, military defeats, and the heavy toll of war led to protests and strikes, culminating in the Russian Revolution of 1905. The Russian public's frustration with the war effort undermined morale and further destabilized the country, which distracted from the war effort in the Far East. Weak domestic support. The Russian population was weary of the war, and the leadership was unable to secure widespread public support. This weakened Russia's resolve and led to a lack of unity and focus, making it difficult for Russia to maintain a sustained military campaign. 5. Diplomatic isolation. Russia's diplomatic position was also weakened during the war. While Japan had formed alliances with other powers in East Asia, Russia found itself isolated on the international stage. Japan's diplomatic skill. Japan had successfully positioned itself as a defender of Asian interests against European imperialism. It received diplomatic support from Britain and tacit approval from the United States, both of whom had interests in keeping Russia's influence in check. Russia's diplomatic failures. Russia, by contrast, failed to gain the same level of international support. Its aggressive expansionism in East Asia, particularly its railway projects in Manchuria, had alienated potential allies, leaving Russia diplomatically isolated. Conclusion: Russia's defeat in the Russo-Japanese War was the result of a combination of military miscalculations, logistical challenges, strategic errors, and political instability. Despite its larger size and greater resources, Russia's inability to adapt to the realities of modern warfare and its failure to effectively manage its military and political situation led to a humiliating defeat at the hands of a smaller but highly prepared and disciplined Japanese force. The war had profound consequences for Russia, contributing to the eventual fall of the Tsarist regime and setting the stage for the Russian Revolution of 1917.